As always, we start our session by chanting the holy name. So when we chant and when we hear the sound vibrations, what we chant, whatever we hear, it enters into our heart and it cleanses our heart, and we are inviting Krishna to come and sit in our heart. So if you see Krishna enters your heart through your ears, you cut both your ears and you join it together, it will be in the shape of a heart. So that's the significance. So whenever we hear the transcendental sound vibrations, like the music, the kirtan, or the songs, or we hear any lectures, or we hear from any classes. So whenever we hear, those sound vibrations will enter your heart and it will purify your heart. So that is how when we say that we reside in our heart, whenever we say that, no, I feel bad, I feel bad. So that feeling actually comes from your heart. The soul resides in your heart. So the nature of the soul is to love. So if our heart is not clean, then we won't be able to love anybody for that matter. So we cultivate love for Krishna in our heart with the process of what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, which we call as Krishna consciousness. All right. So let me share my screen and we'll just go through whatever shloka we are going to do for today. Yep. Can all of you see my screen?
Yep.
Right. So this is what we, yep. So this is what we discussed in the previous class. I'm just doing a quick recap without, because these are the basics. Unless we understand the basics, it is very hard to move forward. So what Bhagavad Gita teaches us. So we are not our mind, we are not our body. So what Bhagavad Gita teaches us is we have been given this body in this particular life to perform certain activities. That is for every living entity, including trees. They have a separate form of body. Animals have a different form of body. Humans have a different form of body. So there are 8.4 million species. So before we take birth in this human form, we have taken birth in the all 8.4 million species. So what Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 text 12 says is, as the embodied soul continuously passes in this particular body from youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at the time of death. A sober person is not bewildered. Not bewildered means not confused by such a change. So if you see this particular diagram here, let me take the annotations. Yep. So if you see this particular diagram here, it shows very, very clearly from childhood until old age. We take in this particular life, we take different bodies. Our bodies keep changing. So as soon as this particular body becomes useless, then the soul gives up this particular body. That's what we call as death. And at the time of death, whatever state of mind we are in, what are our desires that are not fulfilled, depending on that particular desire, you will get a different form of body, either in the higher planetary systems or in the lower planetary systems or on Earth itself. Above Earth, there are seven heavenly planets, and below Earth, there are seven hellish planets. So, depending on your desires, depending on your intention at the time of death, you take the next form. So, how do we overcome the cycle of birth and death? Is by remembering Krishna at the time of death. That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. So, we all are spiritual beings having a human experience. So, at the time of death, when we leave our body, thinking of Krishna, then we will be sent to spiritual planets, which is beyond this entire material world. So inside the material world, we are in one single universe. In one single universe, Earth is a very small planet. Okay. So above Earth, there are heavenly planets, and below Earth, there are hellish planets. So like this comprises of one single universe. Like this, there are millions of universes. So, depending on our desires, if we have material desires, if we don't understand that the purpose of human life is to inquire and attain God, if we don't have that understanding, then depending on whatever understanding we have, Krishna will give us another body where we can go to a different planet in a different universe, and then we can enjoy and then purify, and we can take our journey in whatever pace we want, right? So, spirituality is like a ladder. So, what Vedas or Bhagavad Gita says is everybody's journey is unique, and we can take it in our own pace depending on whatever desires you cultivate. So, some people would like to take it fast, some people would like to take it slow, depending on however you want. But any wise person who understands the purpose of life will try to at least live by the principles of Bhagavad Gita. So that is this particular picture which it is showing us. And then if you see the picture on the left, this is what we relate our body, mind, and soul to. So if you see, the soul is the passenger sitting behind. The soul is the passenger inside this particular body. The body is compared to the chariot, right? So we are given this particular body according to our karma. So all our desires create karma, and we are not the owner of this body, we are tenants. So at how a house owner or your landlord will come and say vacate your home, at the end of certain number of years death will come and say okay, vacate this particular body, and now depending on whatever desires you have cultivated, you will be given another body. So, and how we function is through our senses, right? The five horses, we have five senses. And then the rope is considered to be our mind, and the chariot driver is considered to be the intelligence, right? So this picture comes from Katha Upanishad. So if you see, we are made of, if you see the picture above, we are made of five elements. Our gross body, which is hands, legs, and eyes, ears, head. All these are made of five elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. And then we have our subtle body, which actually we cannot see, right? Which is the mind, intelligence, and false ego. And we have soul, which is residing in our heart, which is like one by one, 10,000th of our hair. Okay. So depending on whatever is our desire is in that particular body, in that heart, the soul will reside. So the soul is completely eternal. The soul has no beginning or no end. The soul is full of knowledge, and the soul is full of bliss. Bliss means happiness. So the nature of the soul is to hunt for happiness. So what we do in our particular life, we try to think that we will be happy by doing this, we will be happy by getting this, we will be happy by getting that. So where all the desires are coming from? The desires are coming from the soul. The soul, and I move on to the next slide. So the soul understands happiness through this particular body. And how it understands happiness? It has no direct connection with this world. The soul is residing in this particular body. So, with the help of this particular body, we perform some activities and we think that is happiness. So, when we say we think that is happiness, so the word think, that comes from our subtle body. Our subtle body comprises of intelligence, mind, and false ego. Okay. So, what exactly is consciousness? So, what consciousness is the energy of the soul. That is what is powering up the soul. So, the consciousness flows through our subtle body to our gross body, and based on which we understand okay, this is mouse, this is my mouse, this is a chair, this is a table, this is the world, this is right, this is wrong. And depending on what our consciousness is, we will be able to discriminate things accordingly. So, how much ever pure our intelligence is, how much ever pure our mind is, and how much ever pure our false ego, that means which is the understanding of our own self. Depending on the purity of our subtle body, we will understand and we will perceive this reality in front of us. Okay. So now for some people, they think that nature is everything. For some people, job is everything. So that is all completely depending on their level of intelligence and how pure their mind is. Okay. So any questions on who we are, what is the soul, what is the subtle body, what is intelligence, what is mind, what is false ego? So if you remember this particular diagram, these two diagrams, so these are the basics. So this is the solid foundation for us to go deeper into what mind is. So any questions until here? So we need to be very, very clear on what is soul, what is intelligence, what is mind, what are our senses, and what is this particular body. So these five things we need to be very, very clear. And after that, we need to understand how the consciousness or the soul interacts with this particular world. The soul sees through our subtle body. Okay. And depending on whatever the understanding in our subtle body is, our gross body starts functioning. Okay, even brain is part of our gross body. Brain is matter. So brain is not mind. That is also we need to understand it very, very clearly. So any questions until here? So people whoever attended the last class, so these are the basics, and people whoever are joining today for the first time. Pratham, do you have any question before we move forward? Any question?
No questions, Babuji.
So if this concept is clear, then it will be easy for all of us to go a much more deeper in today's class. So if you have no questions, then I'll continue sharing. So let's go a bit more deeper. All right. So let's move on to the next slide. Are you guys able to see the next slide?
No, it was
Yeah.
the previous one.
Are you not able to see the screen at all?
Now not.
Okay, just a second. Let me share again. What happened? Give me 1 second. Yes, I'm so sorry. Okay, okay, fine now. Yeah, you can see now, right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's understand the hierarchy of these five elements and what Bhagavad Gita says and what we actually think. So, chapter 3, text 42, what Bhagavad Gita says is the working senses are superior to dull matter. Mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still higher than the mind. And he, the soul, is even higher than the intelligence. So, if you see, this is how the hierarchy is. So, at the bottommost level, we have our gross body. This body is made of earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And then we have our senses, which is the sense of smell, the sense of sight, the sense of hearing, the sense of touch. So, all our senses are above, are considered to be superior than our body. and the mind is considered to be more superior than our senses, right? So the mind is part of our subtle body, and intelligence is considered to be more superior than our mind. That is also part of our subtle body. In one way, senses are also subtle, and because of this gross body, we are able to perceive. And then the soul is more superior than all of the below. Okay, so this is the hierarchy. But if you see here, we have the mind. So most the problematic thing in this particular world is the intelligence is supposed to be dominating our mind, depending on whatever knowledge we have of this particular world or the scriptures. But what happens is this is the actual hierarchy which we have become into because of all the things around us, the way things have been told to us. This is the most conception which we have, that we are our mind. So our mind does thinking, feeling, and willing. That's it. It does nothing else. Depending on whatever is your intellect, depending on whatever knowledge you have, our mind perceives or try to understand the objects in front of you as reality. So that's what our mind does. So if the mind overpowers your intelligence, which means if you take the example of the first five horses and the rope and the chariot driver, so which means the chariot driver has no control of the particular rope. Okay, that is what means the mind is overpowering the intelligence. Okay, so if the mind is overpowering our intelligence, then the senses will keep running in all the directions. The chariot driver will have no control of the horses, and the soul, who is the passenger, will nowhere be in the picture because the horses will be running in different direction. So with our senses, we will think that okay, this is reality, and because the mind is in control and we don't have the superiority with our intelligence, so what we think, we identify ourselves with our thoughts, we identify ourselves with our emotions, we identify ourselves with this particular world, we identify ourselves with a particular home or a particular person or with some money or with some charitable work. So we identify ourselves with all these objects, and we consider these objects are our source of happiness. Of course, we all want to be happy, but our object of satisfaction becomes completely material if the soul is nowhere in picture. So we are actually studying and taking care of this particular body for the last 20-25 years. What have we done to take care of our soul? That's the question. So, with all our intelligence, which is good, we have born in this particular world, we'll have to perform some activities. So, for that, we need to do some sort of studies, develop some sort of intelligence to exist in this particular world, to understand how this world functions. But whatever we do and then whatever intelligence we acquire, that should be aligned with the purpose of the soul. The soul is what is powering up our heart. We are going to give up this body at some point in time, and then the soul will take on the next body. That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. So it's not like there is no point in what we are doing now. So what we are doing now should act as a vehicle, or it should act as a catalyst for the soul to progress in its spiritual journey. That is the point which Krishna is trying to make to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita throughout all the 18 chapters. This body is a proper vehicle to make sure that the soul reaches the destination. And how is that possible? Only when we understand what is mind. Since intelligence is superior than the mind, that's what Krishna says in Gita. So, how we will understand more about our mind? Only if we increase our knowledge of what is reality or what is soul. So, only when we have the right understanding of what is soul and what is intelligence, then we will be able to use our mind properly to steer our senses in the right direction. Else, the soul will be sitting somewhere and the body will be going in a different direction. it is not aligned with the journey of the particular soul, right? So this is very, very important to understand this particular hierarchy. And we should be very, very clear what is intelligence and what is mind. So intelligence is nothing but the knowledge which the mind uses to make a particular decision. A mind can only do accept or reject, right? So say for an example, let's take an example of say an gulab jamun or an halwa, right? So the first time I have a gulab jamun, I understand that it is very, very tasty. It will create an impression. It will create an impression for me. Okay. And then the next time, I know already that the gulab jamun is sweet. That's where the intelligence comes in. So the intelligence will now guide my mind, saying that okay, this gulab jamun is sweet. So now if you have that, you can enjoy. So identify myself momentarily with the pleasure that I get out of that gulab jamun. Right? So based on each and every action of yours, the mind creates various impressions. So now, if we don't have the intelligence to perform our actions properly and understand what real happiness is, how the soul can be nourished. So we are nourishing our body through food. Right? So what is the food for the soul? Krishna says the food for the soul is by practicing bhakti, is by practicing bhakti yoga, by offering whatever we have for the pleasure of Krishna, for the service of Krishna. Say for example, like okay, I have to do a particular job. Now that is actually my nature. So each one of you will have different nature, right? Some people will like doing jobs, some people will like doing business, and some people will like doing like teaching or being in an advisory position, or some people will like to join the army, navy, or air force. So we need to understand our own nature so that we maintain our particular body with some activities, and whatever activities we are doing, so whatever results we get out of that, we don't get attached to that results. If whether we get good or bad, we think that okay, we are using this body to nourish our soul and make sure that the soul reaches its destination. So whatever results we get, we offer it to Krishna. So now say for example, I am doing a particular job, I'm earning some X amount of money. So I keep some amount of money for maintaining myself, for maintaining my family, and then some amount of money for emergency purposes. And rest of the money, whatever I have, I what Krishna recommends is to use that in service of all the Vaishnavas or in the service of Krishna, whoever is serving Krishna. So that is Krishna's recommendation. So by doing that, what benefit is we don't accumulate any karma. Okay, so that is called purifying our karma. So by doing that, we don't accumulate any karma. But if we are not using that money for Krishna's service and we think that we are keeping it for ourselves, and if we are trying to be selfish, which means then we accumulate karma. And then we will have to again take multiple births to purify that particular karma. So if we don't have a proper clarity on what is intelligence, what is mind, then our false ego will kick in. We identify ourselves with this body. I am this particular body. So what people go to gym and they keep developing, they take a lot of supplements, they spend so much amount of time, they spend so much amount of effort. For what? To make themselves look good, which means that is called as bodily conception of life. You are identifying yourself with this particular body. But at the same time, when you're coming to the temple, and when you are dressing up properly, that is because when the temple screen opens, that doesn't mean that we are seeing Krishna. The actual meaning of that is Krishna is coming to see us. So when Krishna is coming to see us, we should be properly dressed. We should be well maintained. We should look clean. Cleanliness is next to godliness. And that is why we take care of our body so that when Krishna sees us, he feels happy. So we need to make sure that taking care of the body for what purpose? What is the intention of taking care of this particular body? If the intention is to serve Krishna, if the intention is for the pleasure of Krishna, when the Supreme Lord comes in the morning, when the altar is open, when the Supreme Lord comes to see us, he wants, he'll be really, really happy. He'll be very, very curious to see, okay, who's standing where, who's wearing what, who's doing what, who's smiling, who's crying, why is this person crying? So he'll be very eager to see all of us, right? So for that particular purpose, we have to carry ourselves properly whenever we go to temple, and we should consider this body as a temple, because Krishna is living in our heart as Paramatma. That is soul, and that is super soul, right? So we are Atma, the soul, and the super soul is also residing in the heart. And Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita. So we are establishing a connection between the soul and the super soul, so that the soul can actually derive all the happiness from the super soul. So when we have the right understanding of philosophy, when we have the right understanding of what is reality, when we have the right understanding of what we are doing in this particular world, then we automatically develop detachment for all the temporary pleasures. Right now, we are doing so many activities. We will understand that it's just for maintaining our material body and to serve Krishna. So, right now, all the objects of satisfaction, they all give only temporary happiness. Nothing gives us permanent happiness. So, automatically, when jnana, the knowledge increases, then it cultivates vairagya. We become detached. So detached means not leaving whatever you are doing, put it down, and then go to forest and sit and meditate. So you internally you get detached. So whether that thing is happening or not, whether this person is shouting at me or whether this person is present with me or not, whether I have a house or not, whether I have more money or not, those factors will not affect your mind. That is called as real detachment, which is called as vairagya. And that comes only with jnana. Only jnana leads to vairagya. That means your intelligence should be superior than your mind. So that is real knowledge. So you should not get disturbed by words of different people. You should not get disturbed by your what your boss says at work. If that somebody says something rude to you, right? Or if somebody scolds you, or you lose some X amount of money, or you're doing so much of things, but you're not getting as much results as you want. So all these things should not disturb you, because you don't know which life's karma is acting on you at this particular time. And we also saw that everything in this world is arranged by Krishna depending on what desires we have, right? And at the same time, we interact with multiple people, and the arrangement is made in such a way that we are not the only cause of whatever actions that we do. There are multiple causes, and there are multiple factors which influences the results. It is not that I am doing something and this has to happen. There are so many other parameters between an action and a result. That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. So the intelligence will be developed in a more refined or a superior way only when we have a right understanding of what is soul, what is the nature of the soul, why is the soul present in this particular body, what the soul has to do at the end of this particular life, right? The soul will be happy permanently only when it reaches the kingdom of God, which are the spiritual planets. So we are all in a particular reflection. So when you stand in front of water and there is a tree next to the water in the lake, so the reflection of the tree will be on that water, right? So can we go and take fruits from the tree by seeing water? No, we have to take it from the actual tree. So right now what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 14th chapter is this material world is a replica or a reflection of the spiritual world. So we try to understand whatever in front of us is actually the real happiness. That is what our mind makes us think, right? So if you see, this is what Krishna says in chapter 2 when Arjuna asks certain questions that I'm completely confused. After the whole Mahabharata scene, everybody knows what happened. And in the battlefield, Arjuna says to Krishna, I'm confused, I don't want to fight. I'm like, what? Everybody knows what happened, right? In Mahabharata. And all of a sudden, Arjuna says, it's no, they're all my relatives. So he didn't know that they're all his relatives when Draupadi was stripped naked in the assembly by the Kauravas. And nobody supported. All those relatives, they all kept quiet, nobody supported. So he didn't know any of that before, and all of a sudden, when he was about to kill them in the battlefield, he, he came to know all of that. So, chapter 2, text 62. So, this is what the Sanskrit says. Dhyayato yato vishyan pumsa sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kama kamat krodho bijayate. While contemplating the objects of senses, right? So, we have sense, different senses, and we perceive certain objects. A person develops attachment for them, right? So I see a particular car. Now I think that buying this car makes me happy. And trust me, I really thought that. Three years back, I bought a BMW. And from such attachment, lust develops. Lust means unfulfilled desires. It is not just a lust between a boy and a girl or a girl and a boy, right? Any unfulfilled desire is called as lust, and from lust, anger rises. So this is what we understand, right? Like, so say I see a look at a particular car, then the mind starts thinking, oh, that car is very nice. I think it'll be good if I buy that particular car. So now I get attracted to that particular car. I want to possess it. I want to enjoy it. So I feel like having it. So this is also done by your mind. And then I make a decision. I want that particular car. And then I develop an attachment or a desire, right? And then I start working towards that particular desire. So now what the next shloka says is Krodhat bhavati sammoha sammohat smriti vibhramaha smriti bhrimshat buddhinasho buddhinashat pranashyati. From anger, complete delusion arises. Okay. So I cultivate attachment, okay, and then that develops into lust. And it is not necessary that each and every time I need to be angry, but that can be converted into delusion. Delusion means a misjudgment. Okay, so now I make a decision thinking that, okay, that is reality and that is going to make me happy. I am putting my happiness elsewhere. And from delusion, say for example, we forget who we are. Memory loss, we forget our purpose. And then our intelligence, we are unable to think clearly. Start working towards the wrong purpose. And then we keep running in circles again and again and again. So Krishna says how mind can take us into an infinite loop. So in between this irritation is nothing but different emotions that we cultivate. So what is the byproduct of emotions? Contemplation, attraction, and obsession, thinking, feeling, and willing. So your mind, it produces various emotions. Okay, and depending on those emotions, that acts as a signal to your brain. And depending on whatever your brain receives as inputs, it will start passing signals to your body, hands, legs, eyes, ears, nose, and then we start acting. So Bhagavad Gita says everything very, 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 very clearly. So if we don't have the right understanding of who we actually are, then we identify ourselves with our emotions. I feel angry. I feel happy. I feel sad. So I become angry, right? So anger is not there within us. I get angry. From where do I get anger? I become angry. How I become angry, right? So we identify ourselves with that particular emotion, right? So what makes us give that particular feeling? What is the root cause of all of this? desire, depending on what desire we have, whatever are our desires, that is the root cause of our emotions. So we need to understand whenever we are having some emotional conflict or whenever we are stuck without knowing, we're not able to make any particular decision, then you need to reflect back and see whether the mind is instructing you or the mind is not taking instructions from the intelligence. So, what desire is making me go towards that particular emotion? We'll have to reflect. So, and then validate that desire. Now, whether that particular desire is aligned with the desire of the soul. The desire of the soul is to be with Krishna. Make sense? So this is the hierarchy, this is the function of how a mind acts as a camera for capturing all the impressions, and it produces various emotions based on which we actually function. So what the modern psychologists call as emotional intelligence. So how we understand how our emotions are produced depending on our desires. So what to let go, what not to let go when you're feeling happy, when you're feeling sad. Happiness is also temporary, sadness is also temporary. The whole world is temporary. And all happiness and sadness will last only for a certain amount of time. So next time whenever we get happy or sad, we should not make any drastic decisions. So we always have to keep in this mind, we are about this body. We are not the owner, we are tenants. So what are we going to do by accumulating so much amount of wealth, accumulating so much amount of material knowledge, by accumulating so much amount of wealthy positions around us, all the material positions? What is going to happen? At some point in time, we are going to leave this body and we are going to take some other body. So each and every action, what we do from morning to evening, should be aligned with the ultimate purpose of life. So I put another slide where I want to speak about how important it is for the intelligence to be more superior than our mind, and how we can actually nurture our intelligence. Intelligence, we have to keep watering it, right? So, intelligence helps us understand how to see the world and how to perceive reality. So, if I think getting this particular home or getting this particular degree or getting this particular job is going to make me happy, then our purpose in life is depending on that particular object of happiness. We are identifying ourselves with that particular object of satisfaction, because the job becomes the object of satisfaction. Your education becomes your object of satisfaction. You're understanding more and more about psychology, you're understanding more and more about various scientific aspects. You're understanding more and more about various programming languages or whatever field you work in. That becomes your happiness. So if you see, some people will be happy, or some for some people, family becomes their happiness. So we are making various objects of satisfaction. So the right intelligence is reading the scriptures and understanding who we actually are. That doesn't mean we detach from our family, we detach from our work, we detach from this particular world. So we understand that now I have been given this body and I have been given. It's not that I am owning it. I was awarded this particular family for my emotional support, and I am being given this particular job for me to maintain my body so that I can help my soul reach its destination. That is the right understanding, and the destination is God, Krishna, Vishnu, Ram. So that is the particular destination, and all of them are living in different spiritual planets. So Ram came with a particular purpose, Vishnu has a particular purpose, Krishna is the supreme. So they are all the other gods are originating from Krishna. Krishna says this in Bhagavad Gita. Everything emanates from me. Aham sarvasya prabhavo. There is a shloka. He says everything in this particular world, be it other Vishnu or other demigods like Shiva, Lord Ganesh, Lord Durga, they all come from Krishna. Okay, so the intelligence must be sharpened every day with required knowledge. With the required knowledge, which means the knowledge which is required to maintain your body, along with scriptural wisdom. That is the knowledge of the soul. So, what nourishes the soul? When we live as per the scriptures, what we fail to understand is the happiness comes from within. People say, I want to be happy. Right? Happiness comes from within. A lot of people say, you sit and meditate, automatically you will feel happy. So, where exactly the happiness comes from? It comes from understanding more about knowing who you are. What is the nature of the soul? Nature of the soul is to love God. Okay, how to love God? The more and more knowledge you have on this particular subject, the more and more intelligent you become, and then your mind will stop getting disturbed by all the small activities that is happening around you. So, if the mind overpowers intelligence, this is where most of us struggle. So, practicing any form of yoga or practicing any form of bhakti yoga, that is for us to purify our mind. Okay? That is for us to especially purify our mind. Modern psychology, they give solutions just to calm your mind. They don't give solutions to purify your mind. So all this what we do in the whatever scriptures say, it is for purification of your mind.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama.
Okay. So that is for purification of your mind. So when our mind overpowers our intelligence, then which means all the thoughts and emotions which your mind produces, we start identifying ourselves with that particular thought. We start identifying ourselves with that particular emotion. So we start feeding those thoughts unnecessarily. So mind is a storehouse of impressions, right? So we start from various impressions comes different thoughts, and from different thoughts comes various emotions. And how these impressions are created, depending on what book we read, depending on what movies we see, depending on what we have done in our previous life, depending on what our parents have told us, depending on what type of people we mingle with in our day-to-day life. So it is very, very important for us to understand what our mind produces. What we are feeding is very, very important. So if our intelligence is not strong, if the intelligence is not superior to our mind, then we start feeding unnecessary things. We start feeding unnecessary thoughts and emotions. And then what comes out of that is garbage. Garbage in, garbage out. Good in, good out. Okay, so that's very, very important. So, what we feed, your diet is not what you eat. What you eat is related to your mind to some extent because your body has to function. But it's more about what you watch, to whom you listen, what type of content you read. So, all that creates various impressions. And that impressions is what will make you understand what is life, what is reality, what am I doing in this particular world, who am I? I have different bodies. I take a photo and see from my childhood. My body was small. Now my body is changing. It is going to change. My mind was different yesterday. I was thinking something else, and today I'm thinking something else. My mind is also changing. So, who am I? What am I doing in this particular body? So, human life is meant for making this inquiry. The moment you have made this inquiry, then your spiritual journey starts. And how fast your journey is depending on what religion or what spiritual practice you follow. You can choose to walk, or you can choose to go on a bicycle. You can choose to go in a bullock cart. You can choose to go in a car, or a train, or a bus, or a flight. Krishna consciousness is as good as traveling to point A to point B in a flight. So that doesn't mean all the other religions are wrong. Our direction is different, our journey is different, our pace is different, our understanding of the world is different, our destination is different. Okay, and for that particular destination, we can go only in flight. Right? So that is the understanding of what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. So coming to the last slide of today, then we will move to questions. So this is what the difference between mind and the brain. So mind energizes your brain. That is very, very important to understand. So if you see your brain has two portions, left side and the right side. So whenever your mind is agitated, which means your right side of your brain will come into your thinking. That gets influenced whenever your mind is agitated, right? And the right side of your brain is responsible for processing all this imagination, thinking, and everything. And that processes a particular type of data. It processes everything irrationally, illogically, sentimentally, right? So whenever the emotions come out of an agitated mind, then you start functioning from the right portion of your brain. So whenever we are angry, we are agitated. So our intelligence is completely lost when we are angry. So our right side of the brain starts functioning. So whenever you're angry, basically pause your reaction. It is natural, it is human to be angry. It is natural, it is human to have emotions. But you need not react. You can acknowledge your emotion. Yes, I am feeling angry. But the other person need not know it, right? So the moment you are actually feeling angry, which means, technically speaking, there are scientific evidences you are actually destroying cells in your body. When you start having negative emotions, you destroy cells in your body. You are losing your potency. You are actually losing your potency. Losing potency. So when we get to a state of calmness, that's why when people say during anger or during any unforeseen circumstances where we have negative emotions, people say breathe. There are scientific researches happening now. What we say is pranayama. It is all there in Yoga Sutras. That's why we breathe, we inhale and exhale to get ourselves grounded in this particular session, because that improves focus. Scientifically, that improves your cognitive abilities, right? So when there are various breathing exercises which scientific researchers have produced, I was reading an article on LinkedIn, like you breathe in different intervals in different ways, that actually gives you a dopamine rush. It gives you a dopamine hit in your body. We get dopamine from various activities, right? Just by breathing. That's why people who practice meditation, they're always in a very calm state of mind, because breathing is an important aspect of meditation. That is one form of meditation, right? But that will only calm your mind. So when you meditate on mantra, it purifies your mind, right? So purification is different. Achieving a state of calmness is different. So achieving a state of calmness, it is temporary. At any point of time, you can get agitated. But when you get purified, then you might not even get agitated at all if your purification is proper. That's why mantras, when you hear it, when you chant it, it has specific effects on your consciousness, right? So consciousness, it purifies your mind. Your consciousness starts flowing through the subtle body more smoothly without any contamination, because your mind is purified. The moment your mind is purified, automatically your brain starts producing all proper chemicals. Why we have to have a various scientific, various approaches, various practices, various exercises? Krishna is giving everything. The soul is connecting with the super soul in the heart. That is the science. That is the science of mantra meditation. Krishna, please engage me in your service. That's the meaning of the mantra. That is why when we start the session, we make Krishna the part of this particular session. We invite him for this particular session. That is exactly what we do. So we take blessings, we take mercy from Krishna. That whatever at the moment I am speaking, it is for the benefit of Krishna, because Krishna will be more happy if a lot of people starts worshipping him. So we are all now carving our life away from Krishna. So that's what Krishna says to Arjuna. Why are you so sentimental? What happened? Where is all the thoughts coming from? That's exactly what he says in chapter 3. And then he takes Arjuna through the journey of the soul. Okay, where we originate from, what is the destination? How do we go towards destination? So each and every time we will have various distractions. So our mind, it presents happiness, whatever is happiness as distress, and whatever is actually a suffering, it says people that as happiness. And that is because of intelligence, which is blunt. Your intelligence is not sharp. We identify ourselves with our mind. So when the mind is agitated, naturally the right side of the brain is active, and when mind is calm, the left side of the brain is more active. So the more aware we are of this particular knowledge, that will help us perceive our day-to-day life in a very, very different way. Okay, so that's it for today. I'll stop here and I'll open up for questions. So, any questions from any of you based on your life experiences or whatever you have seen so far? What questions you have, I'm happy to answer any questions you have or any realizations that you have from today's session, any reflections, anything that you think, something that you are not able to agree or not able to understand. Open for discussion.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, heart is the part of the soul or a part of the body,
Heart
material
is
body.
part of the body. Heart is also matter. Pain is also matter. The soul resides in your heart, because soul is what powering up your heart. So the entire life airs, right? So you have 9 holes in your body: eyes, nose, mouth, ears, your belly, and your genitals. You have now all the 9 holes. So prana keeps passing through all the 9 gates of your body. Heart is the only place where the prana is circulating in a proper equilibrium. That is why the soul is residing in the heart. Okay, so heart is also matter. What is powering up the heart, right? What is that energy that is powering up the heart? So the scientists say sometimes, his brain is dead, he's going towards brain death, but the consciousness is still active. He's in coma, but he can still hear us, which means the consciousness hasn't left the body, the heart is still beating. The consciousness is what is powering up the heart. But that's the symptom of awareness, being aware. So the heart is also material, the brain is also material. So the brain is sourced, the powering up of our brain is done by our subtle body, mind, intelligence, and our false ego. And the powering up of our heart is directly done by soul. Okay, that's why brain and heart are very important. Both are very related also.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. Any question from you, Ayush? Do you have any questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
I had just a general curiosity on what is the significance behind the tulsi that a lot of people in ISKCON put?
Okay, Tulsi as in bear. In the
Like the
leaves you're
white,
asking.
No, the white.
The
line
tilak.
is very- Yeah, the tilak.
Oh,
Sorry.
that's tilak. So that is basically your spiritual identity. So different Hindu religions will have different type of tilaks. So this is basically the tilak represents the lotus feet of the Lord. So the tilak represents the lotus feet of Krishna, and we are surrendered to Krishna. So that is the significance of that particular tilak. That is to say that okay, I am a spiritual person and I am surrendered to Krishna. So if you see all the Vishnu devotees, they put a different form of tilak. They'll put like a U, white color, and then they put a red line in between. Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
Anything from you, Katie, today? How was how did you feel?
Heaps of knowledge that I acquired from today's session. So just made a note of it. Yeah,
Okay. Any questions you have from today's session?
not really,
Okay.
not at this stage.
Okay. Pratham, how did you find today's session? What are your reflections?
I think since it was my first session, I learned quite a lot, especially about the mind and the body and how the body doesn't belong to us and we're merely tenants of the body.
Mm.
And yeah, but it's our responsibility to take care of it and make the right decisions in life through our consciousness and through our intelligence. Yep.
Okay. So any reflections, any realizations you had during the session?
I might think over it. I don't
Okay.
have
Yeah.
anything right
It's
now.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can reflect on that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yes, Jasmine. How about you?
I have two questions actually. I just have one general question, like
Yeah.
when people join like SCON or any Vaishnava religious thing, what is the reason behind like they're getting a new name? Because my great grandma was in Vaishnava, and from the time I was born, like I
Mhm.
knew she was in Vaishnava, and like she, all like I remember her always giving food first to God, like
Mhm.
Krishna, and then only she used to eat, and then only she used to give me food.
Mhm.
Like, so I just wanted to know, like, what is the reason behind giving a specific name to people once they join in?
Okay. So basically when we are part of any sampradaya, so it's not being part of organization. So there are like four authorized sampradayas. So those are the pathways to reach God, Vishnu or Krishna. So there are four bona fide sampradayas. Okay. So ISKCON is part of one of the sampradayas. So they promote Brahma Madhva Sampradaya. So basically, it's called as a Guru Parampara system, a GPS. So when we are lost on the road, we use our GPS to navigate in life, right? So similarly, when we are lost in life, we need a proper authorized bona fide Guru Parampara system so that we can reach back to Krishna. So say for example, when the whole world was created, these four bona fide sampradayas, they have different founders. Okay. So all the knowledge was given to Krishna directly to Brahma. It's called as Brahma Madhva Sampradaya. Brahma sends four Kumaras. It is called as the Kumara Sampradaya. It was given to Lakshmi. It is called as Shri Sampradaya. And it was given to Shiva, which is called as Rudra Sampradaya. So what ISKCON follows falls under the Brahma Madhva Sampradaya. So the knowledge has been flowing through disciplic succession from Brahma through various acharyas. So if we are not a part of this particular line of disciplic succession, then you can't go to Krishna. Okay, so that is why when we join an organization, which means we are accepting a guru from that organization or a guru from that sampradaya. Okay, an organization is just facilitating for you to be part of a particular sampradaya. Then it is a bona fide organization. Any organization which it is not in any of these four sampradayas, is not bona fide. Okay, so when we are part of an organization, which means we are accepting a guru, okay, then we want to go back home, back to Krishna. We have taken that decision. We join a particular sampradaya, or we join an organization which is facilitating a bona fide sampradaya. We accept a guru, and like how in an organization you have various positions, right? Like associate, senior associate, team leader, manager. So similarly in spiritual world also you will have various positions. So depending on what is your bhav, what is your nature, depending on what is your emotion towards Krishna, your guru will understand you very, very clearly. You will have multiple interactions with your guru. There are many gurus. See which guru is aligning with your mood. You will identify a guru, and then the guru will understand your emotion, and then he will give you a spiritual name, which technically means you are part of that particular sampradaya according to your bhav and your nature and how you are seeing God, how you are seeing Krishna. Now, when you go back after leaving this particular body, when you're fully purified, that is the name which you will be called in the spiritual world. That's the understanding. So in some sampradayas, they'll change your entire name, or in because all of our names, if you see, they already have a spiritual significance. So in some sampradayas, so I came from Sri Sampradaya, the Lakshmi Sampradaya, who worship Lord Tirupati Balaji, but I felt more connected to Brahma Madhva Sampradaya. So in my sampradaya, I got initiated there as well. When I joined the sampradaya, so just the word das gets added behind your name. If you're a male, which means you're a servant. If you're a female, the word dasi gets added. Okay, but the philosophy of ISKCON or the Gaudiya Brahma Madhva Sampradaya is different. So they give you an entire different name. So my actual name is Kaustubh Krishna Kumar, and after my first initiation, it became Kaustubh Krishna Kumar Dasa from my Sri Sampradaya. But ISKCON, like I am allowed to get initiated Vedically speaking. If my old Acharya is no more, I can get initiated in any other Sampradaya I want. So my Acharya passed away like few years back. Now I felt more connected here. So I accepted a guru in ISKCON. I started following ISKCON in 2021. So now my spiritual name is Devahuti Kapila Das. Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your next
Um,
question? You said you had two questions.
yeah. So I just want, because we're talking about mind and our consciousness, I just wanted to know, like, let's say I'm listening something and I fell asleep. So I know that my conscious mind will not be listening that, but like, will my subconscious mind would be getting that knowledge when I'm asleep? Like in the story, when we listen that in the Mahabharata as well, it is said that when Arjun was telling the story of that, sorry, I forgot that warrior thing, the fight thing, but his wife fell asleep, so that his unborn child couldn't hear the whole story. So, like, is it happens with us as well? Like, if we fall asleep, that when we get that anything we are listening or anything we are learning, when we fell asleep, like if our conscious mind is not listening, then like even if we get that knowledge in our subconscious mind, will not be like we can't remember it or will not be getting any benefit out of it.
Mm. So, depending on how pure is your consciousness, then basically whatever you hear and whatever you see, it leaves an impression. Your mind is like a snapshot. It makes
Mm-hmm.
impressions of whatever you hear and whatever you see, or whomever you are with. So now that also, how strong is that impression depends on how pure your consciousness is. Okay. So that is how the impressions will be created strongly or weakly. So when you are also sleeping, depending on how pure your consciousness is, impressions from the sound vibrations will be created. But some impressions will be very, very strong, some may be very, very mild. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Nabya. What are your realizations from today's session? What did you learn? Any questions?
Um, yeah, like as you said, like after going, like entering in the Krishna consciousness and chanting, we purifying our mind.
Mhm.
Yeah, I have reflected myself like before Krishna consciousness and after Krishna consciousness. So before I was getting very angry too quick, like literally very angry. I was like, I'm not going to listen anyone.
Mm.
But now I'm realizing myself like very calm. Before I was just like, I want to speak up first,
Mm.
and if I don't like, I'll get angry. But then now I'm like, I just want to observe everyone, listen everyone, how they react and whatever. And then I'm realizing like, do that particular things or that particular people need my energy?
Mm.
Yeah, if they are like a positive people or want to get something, yeah, of course I want to tell something. If negative people, maybe I can ignore and
Mm.
protect my peace of mind
Mm.
and get out from there.
True, true. So anything which is generally positive and negative, how we identify is even your emotions, right? You can have positive emotions, you can have negative emotions. All emotions are equal. So when we say negative, that doesn't mean it's a bad emotion. You cannot say anger as a negative emotion, but reacting to that will decrease your mental balance. So that is why we call it as a negative emotions. If you see, all emotions are equally important. Okay, so anything that contaminates your consciousness or anything or anyone or any activity that is not letting you progress spiritually, right? That
Hmm.
be avoided. Or at least you need to have a very, very clear boundary because
Yeah.
our consciousness gets contaminated very, very easily. Our mind
Hmm.
creates impressions very, very easily. So that's why when we practice spirituality, what Srila Prabhupada has said, why he has given this ISKCON for like-minded people to come and mingle, right? So when you want to watch good movies, I keep saying this again and again, you mingle with people who have taste for good movies. Similarly, when you want to eat good food, you mingle with people who have taste for good food. So spirituality is also similar. So if you don't associate or if you don't mingle with like-minded people, then our consciousness will not grow. Your consciousness will get more diluted. So that is why being with like-minded people, that's why Srila Prabhupada has been so merciful in creating ISKCON for us to practice spirituality. So whenever, the moment we say that, okay, I'll do this myself, then which means you are not having a good spiritual shell around you. Bhakti is like a creeper. You'll have to hold on to somebody and only then you can climb.
Hmm.
So, from what are my reflections from what you said is anything that is negative, you said, right? Like we should not, we have to maintain a distance. We should not associate too much. We should not basically reveal what is inside our heart, basically, because sometimes it may not be respected. And if we are not steady in our practices, then the influence from the other side, it might disturb your practice. So
Hmm.
that's the understanding. But at the same time, we should not avoid them completely because we are representatives of Krishna. So we should not leave a bad impression in them. Okay, that this person has become spiritual and he is now not associating with me. So you will have to make sure that you'll have to tell them that you're not able to give time or something that's keeping you busy. So make sure that your relationships are also protected. Right? End of the day, we are all representatives of Krishna, and somewhere, sometime down the lane, we might be able to tell them about Krishna. Right? Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 18.63 that one who spreads the knowledge of Gita more to people, then only then Krishna will enter their heart easily. Krishna loves people who spreads the knowledge of Gita, makes it more understandable, more accessible for people, right? So, but when your practice is once you have started chanting 16 rounds, once you have a guru, once you have your spiritual name, and once you're initiated, at that point in time, you can start associating little by little so that they get inspired. But make sure you don't get inspired by their habits or their lifestyle. That is more
Hmm.
important. That is why we don't say completely avoid, we say maintain a boundary. So, for some time in 2021, 22, 20, last year actually I got initiated in 2022 when I started, sometimes I go watch movies with my friends and I was still connected to my old friends. I meet them very frequently. Now also I still meet, I talk, but the frequency has reduced. So when I started seeing them regularly every week, I started thinking, this life is also actually happy. Why should I actually chant 16 rounds every day? Automatically your mind will start thinking like that. Oh wow, these guys are also enjoying life. We will start thinking, okay, that is enjoyment. At that
Sorry,
time,
what you said, I just missed it because I'm at work. I received a
so,
call.
no, in 2022, when I used to meet
Yeah,
my old friends frequently, like twice or
yeah.
twice a week, I'll meet. So when I meet them, I'll start thinking, no, okay, that life is also happy. Why I should actually practice Krishna consciousness? Why should I chant 16 rounds? Why should I read 1 hour Bhagavad Gita every day? Automatically, your mind will start thinking like that. You start getting influence from the other side. So that's when, everyday reading actually helps because we forget very easily. We forget Krishna very, very easily. Sometimes I'll be in the middle of the work, I forget to offer food in my mind also. Sometimes if I see an ice cream, automatically I'll take and I'll start eating without even saying Hare Krishna. No, we forget things very, very easily. The attraction around us is so, so strong. It will make us believe Krishna is not there. That is reality. So we'll have to be very, very careful when we associate with people.
But I have realized as well, like
Hmm.
I last time I left, like I haven't attended one class of Bhagavad Gita,
Hmm.
and I feel so lost. Like
Hmm.
I just felt different as like that's like I need it. Maybe my soul want it.
Yes,
Um, yeah,
that's the
it
natural
wanted that.
state of the soul, actually. When you
Yeah,
say my soul wants it, yeah.
yeah, I was like, yeah, I was happy eating, drinking, like working, getting money and everything. But it's still like I was feeling lost because I hadn't
Hmm.
attended class and I was sick, so I couldn't shower and chant. I was really very, very lost and very unhappy. And then I
Hmm.
thought myself, oh, okay, I'm missing that. And then
So that
again,
that's
I
why
started.
what we say is right, like every day at least spend 15-20 minutes reading the actual book because that is also part of purification, right? Reading two to three pages, Prabhupada said, whoever is practicing Krishna consciousness, in order to maintain the level of consciousness, to maintain the state of consciousness, we must be connected to Bhagavad Gita. So every day we must read at least 1 or 2 verses with the purpose. Right? So when we read that, it will help you maintain the balance. It will help you not forget because the ultimate point is what? At the time of death, we should be able to remember Krishna. Right? So we are preparing for that particular remembrance. Okay? Yes, yes, Jasmine. You have a question? Yeah.
Um, yeah, Guruji. I just wanted to ask, like, do you have like does one should be initiated for them to start reading Bhagavad Gita? Because I bought it and I started reading it. Like I used to do it like at first I started reading like at least one verse at
Mm-hmm.
least once a day, just
Mm-hmm.
going through the book and like reading and reading its meaning.
Mm.
And then I stopped it doing like, and maybe then I started like once a week, and then I completely stopped it. Like, does it affect if we stop reading, or like also like does one should be initiated before they start reading that book?
No, no. Anybody can chant, anybody can read.
Okay, so it
Yeah.
so
Initiation means you are taking Krishna as a commitment in your life.
mhm.
You are
So
serious
like
about Krishna.
so
Initiation
one
means
shouldn't be
yes,
like,
you are
so
adding
you don't
Krishna
have to like
complete.
get a guru or something before you
Nah.
start reading that book, right?
No, no,
No,
you
okay.
can. Srila Prabhupada is everybody's Siksha guru. He is a spiritual teacher. So when you're reading, you read the translation and you read the purports also. Purports is nothing but Srila Prabhupada's personal letters to you.
Mm-hmm.
And the Sanskrit slokas, it is not like any book, right? So these are all considered to be Vedic wisdom. So
Yeah.
if recite the shloka, Sanskrit shloka once, that will 100% have benefits. Even if you don't
Yeah.
understand the meaning, it is okay. But reciting the
Yeah. Sometimes it's
basically that
some.
shlokas, yeah,
Yeah.
that's okay. But even the translation, even the purport, everything will have benefits. I'm just saying that
Mhm.
each and every portion of the book, everything has benefits.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
One second,
I
Abhi.
just
Ayush has a question.
okay.
I'll come to you. Yes, Ayush.
Yeah, Prabhuji, I just wanted to ask, what is the correct way of chanting? Like for beads, especially, do you need to get the tulsi beads, and what precautions you should take while chanting? Is there any particular method, or?
Okay, so I'll send a video in the group. You can
Mhm.
see that. So basically, Tulsi, you can get Tulsi Mala. So we recommend to chant on Tulsi beads because Tulsi, she purifies you. Okay,
Okay.
and if you want to reach Krishna, so if you want to reach the Prime Minister, you go through the Prime Minister's secretary. You can't go and reach the Prime Minister directly. So Tulsi Maharani is a very, very dearest associate of Krishna. So we give something to her. She puts it in a nice plate, nice with flowers and everything, and then she offers to Krishna. So that's why we chant on Tulsi beads, number one. And we chant the Maha Mantra. We rotate the beads towards us. Okay. So if you see, right, this is the mala. This is the Tulsi mala. Okay. So when we chant, we pull the beads inwards. So we pull it inwards. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So you can chant at anywhere, anytime except toilets.
Okay.
Okay, because that is impure. You don't have to brush, you don't have to take bath. You can chant in bed, you can chant while walking, you can chant while going in train,
Mhm.
sleeping. You can just put this in your hand and you can chant wherever you are, any time of the day.
Prabhuji, one of my friends had told me that like after you use toilet, you should go have a shower, or you can't touch the beads after using toilet. Is that true?
It's that after using toilets, you can just wash your hands. Okay, there are like
Okay.
different standards which you want to follow, right? So
Uh-huh.
whatever is actually practical for you to maintain, you keep that as a standard and move on. That's when, right, like a lot of people will say different things. Okay, this is the standard, but bare minimum what I can do is I have to wash my hands with proper soap after going
Mhm.
toilets. That is more than enough. So Krishna wants only the intention in your heart. So everybody has a different capacity, right? So according to your capacity, you practice bhakti. Okay, because we don't want to have so many high standards so that we keep thinking that, oh my God, I'm not able to
Mhm.
follow, and thinking that you're not able to follow standards only, you'll be depressed.
Correct.
So you can set a minimum level of standards, say like 2 rounds every day, 2 pages
Mhm.
of Gita every day, and you can have a basic level of cleanliness standards, right? That's more than
Mhm.
enough. So for toilets, my recommendation would be just wash your hands with soap, and then you can continue chanting. That's it. That is why
Okay.
in this particular Kali Yuga, you know, there are no hard and fast rules for chanting, especially the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. This is like
Mhm.
Wi-Fi without password. But if you
Mhm.
want to chant Om, if you want to chant mantras of Lord Shiva, you
Mhm.
have to follow certain rules and regulations.
Correct. Correct.
But the least number of rules and regulations and maximum benefits is the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra.
Correct.
That's what Srila Prabhupada used to say.
And one last one, Prabhuji. When you buy bead, do you need to get the bead bag as well, or can you put it in the, like if you're going to work or in a train or something, can you put it in your pocket, or it has to be in a bead bag?
So, a recommendation is to cover the beads when you're chanting. That is a recommendation.
Mhm.
But when you're going to office or when you're going to work and all, if you want to put it in your pocket, you actually get clicker also.
Okay.
For $4 5, you get clicker also in the temple shop. So that clicker you can actually use that also for counting.
Okay.
So if you feel like you're not comfortable carrying the beads, or if you're not comfortable, okay, initial days of my Krishna consciousness, I'll be like very, very shy to hang my bead bags in the train or,
Mhm.
but especially, of course, during like work, I don't hang like this. But nowadays in train and all, I just put hang like this and I go. And if somebody asks, I get a chance to say, talking about Krishna, okay, this is Jagannath. I'll talk about Jagannath. Some Westerners will ask. So,
Okay.
which is good. That is also like kind of indirect way of taking people closer to Krishna that will make Krishna happy. But see what you're comfortable with. because how much you're able to integrate this as a practice, that's what is very important. So that's why in temple, if you see, they give clickers also, that are basic counters. So if
Mhm.
you're comfortable, if you still want to practice, but if you're not comfortable taking the beads, or if you want, you can put the beads in your pocket, but it won't be clean. You get the
Mhm.
point, right? It won't
Yeah,
be
yeah.
clean. Just to make sure that we protect Tulsi Maharani, we put it in the bag
Mhm.
always.
Okay.
So you can carry the clicker at those instances.
Okay.
So you can keep chanting the Maha Mantra, but one important
Mhm.
thing is when you chant, hear. Chant, you hear. At least you have to hear. Only
Mhm.
then the purification will happen.
Okay.
Okay?
And does purification happen just by listening to the chant? Like if you are
It does
just putting
happen.
it on the earphone?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does happen, but again, it is slow. So it is like
Okay.
slow charging and fast charging.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, so the purification happens at a rapid pace. You get the maximum benefits when you chant and hear. But any form of hearing music, that also you will have purification.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Yes,
Hare
Navya, you had a question.
Um, yeah, I was thinking like because your name got changed, so is in your like all the documents change as well or everything or
No, no, no.
just
So that name is only, people call me in that name only inside ISKCON.
oh okay.
So people who are spiritual, I'll tell this is my name, but all the documents and everything, it will be same name. It is too much effort to change everywhere.
Mm,
Yeah. So only for the spiritual circles inside ISKCON, people call me Kapila. Okay. So okay, so next week we will have the class. You guys are comfortable having it on Sunday next week? Yeah. So we
yeah.
will have the class on Sunday next week because Saturday we have the Siksha ceremony. So whoever is in Sydney, so please do register for the Siksha ceremony online. So you can commit to any number of rounds you want, and you can come take blessings of Radha Gopinath. We will perform a yagya, and you will get prasadam. You will get to know more people, and then make a small commitment. It's like Radha Gopinath will be blessing you with lot of spiritual benefits. So if you are in Sydney, please come for 6 hour ceremony. And if you don't have the beads, you can contact me. For all the youth group, we give it at a very, very discounted price. So you can always contact me for beads, Tulsi Mala, the Bhagavad Gita, the clicker and everything. I'll make sure that I'll give it to you at a very, very discounted price for youths. Okay.
When was the event, Prabhuji, again? What
Uh,
date?
it's on 11th of May. The link,
Yes,
I'll
I
put the
got
link
that.
in the WhatsApp group again. Okay. Or you can just message me, I'll send you the link. So please do come for the ceremony and be a part of the ceremony. Okay. You take blessings of Sri Sri Radha Gopinath. And whoever gets any opportunities during your free time, do come and take small, small services in the temple. That will also help you progress spiritually. Because devotional service, love means expression, right? You can't tell your kid that I love you, you express it. Similarly, whatever practice you're doing for Krishna, you're trying to cultivate love for Krishna, which means you have to express it in some form. Come, make a fruit offering or, a milk offering or even do some services. In the temple kitchen services, you can cut vegetables, you can make garlands. There are a lot of services. Now, Radha Gopinath anniversary is also coming, 20, 22nd,
When is that?
I think 21st to 23rd, 3 day festival. I'll post the flyers in the group. It's a 3 day festival. It'll be like really, really big festival. So there'll be a lot of events, lot of services available. So that is also an opportunity for spiritual growth. So if anybody wants to do any services, please reach out to me. Okay. All right.
Prabhuji, what about
Yes.
me? How can I get this certificate?
So you give me your address. Okay.
You will post it?
Register. Yeah, you register. We'll make sure that all
Okay.
the details are there in the yagya, and I'll courier you the certificate. Okay.
Okay.
Send me your
Yeah,
address.
no worries.
But make sure you register so that you'll be part of the yagya.
Yeah,
Okay.
I registered already yesterday.
Okay. Fantastic. Then send me the address. I'll courier you the certificate. I'll send the Radha
Okay, thank
Gopinath
you.
photo frame also. All right. All right. Let's end here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Shri Radha
Yeah.
Gopinath ki jai. Hare Krishna. See you all next week on Sunday. Okay?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.